Hey, Chris here from Composite Community. This is a brand new podcast where we're talking, believe it or not, all things composite. So we'll be talking to some DIY punters that have rebuilt boats and done modifications on some of their own projects, right through to discussing boat building and the stories of some of the big OEM manufacturers in the game and all things in between. We really look forward to bringing you as much versatility as we can and getting you involved as much as we can. We'd love to hear your story if you want to share it. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and let's have a talk about all things composite. Super excited to bring you a very first podcast featuring the one, the only Nathan Cleasby. Nathan Cleasby is a die-hard spear fisherman who loves to put fat people in wetsuits that don't fit them, loves to rebuild old boats, and is a top fan on the Old School Haynes Hunters page. Sit back, enjoy, and let's listen to Nathan's story about rebuilding boats. Cheers. Nathan Cleasby, welcome to Composite Community.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Depending on which way this gets edited, you could be ultimately the very first Composite Community podcast.
Oh, well, it can only go up. Yeah, nice.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for your support over I feel like I've known you.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
Yeah.
Like 5 years maybe.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm 30 years old. I'm married and Ali's pregnant, which is pretty exciting.
Stop it. Wow.
I hadn't told you, so I thought that would be fun. I work at a farm 30 minutes north of Townsville. We're setting up a...
Cow farm?
No, not a cow farm. A Moreton Bay bug tropical lobster farm.
Yeah, right.
First one in the world if it's successful, which is pretty exciting. So
awesome.
Yeah. We're getting stuck into that. We started January and been going pretty hard at that, getting that set up. So it's been good.
You've been in that sort of industry, well, the whole time I've known you.
Yeah. I've been in aquaculture for like 7 or 8 years now after I finished at JCU. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sweet. And always been around the water, obviously.
Yep. Grew up in Sydney. Would go surfing all the time, fishing all the time. Then moved up here after doing marine bio in Sydney to do a master's in aquaculture. So I did that and then continued enjoying the water and animals, and now I grow them. So, yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. And so I obviously have been involved with you in you building your first boat. Mm-hmm. Which was a Haynes.
Correct.
What sort of Haynes was it?
It was a Haynes V17C.
Oh.
Mm. Yes.
Why?
So I picked that up from a guy in Airlie, and it was like picked up for a couple $1,000. It was pretty rubbish.
First boat?
First fibreglass boat.
Right.
I'd had a couple of real little tinnies before that, but I like spearfishing, so I like getting out a bit wider, and the tinnies wouldn't really let me do that with any comfort. So ended up going the fibreglass boat. I'd been out in a mate's boat. He had a V17R and couldn't believe it. So I got a 17C and got stuck into it from there.
Yeah, from Airlie. Yeah. Drove down.
From Airlie, drove down.
At it beforehand?
Yeah, I actually went down, looked at it, came back, talked to him for a little while, went down, looked at it again. Because it was a 17C with like a 40 Honda on it. So that wasn't going to do much, and I didn't want that outboard. So anyway, ended up coming to an agreement, drove down, picked it up, drove it back, and got stuck into it.
Yeah, nice. So you been in the boat once. So did you look at anything else? No, old mate had one and you loved it and you wanted one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
My mate had one. I liked it. I wanted a cabin in it so I could sleep in it, but
mate, yeah. You're not tiny.
No, the cabin's not bad size though.
Is that why your feet are always burnt?
I'm quite proud of my foot tan.
Right, so you get this boat from Airlie Beach.
Yeah.
Did you use it down there? Or
No,
towed it up?
Straight into the garage. I actually started up the front. The front bulkhead was rotted out. So I started up there, gutted the front and the seat section in the cabin and re-glassed that.
Have you done had you done much fiberglassing before that?
Nah, not really. This was kind of the boat. Don't tell my mate who bought it. But this was kind of the boat that I learnt everything on. So I'd been in here at Fibre Finish a bit doing fiberglassing. We made a few tanks and a couple other bits and pieces.
You made it on the website?
I made it on the website, still there.
Yeah.
Still haven't got paid a cent in royalties. But
they're going.
Yeah, right. Now I'm in here doing more work for you. So did the front, got that done, and then put like an esky on the back, and then I went to a shop in town that had a big yard out the back, and I went to get a bench, and I was walking around the yard, and I found this pod, like this aluminium pod, and I was like, oh, a pod would be pretty cool. And anyway, I was like, what boat's this off? And the guy's like, oh, it was made for my old V17C. I was like, what?
Stop it.
I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, how much do you want for it? He's like, oh, $50. I was like, will you take 40?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I gave him $50 and took it home, and it fit like perfect, followed the hole. He must have got it custom made or something, and bolted that on.
Wait, was his boat anywhere to be seen?
Nah, it was just a pod in grass. It was hiding in the back of nowhere.
Probably a reason for that.
Yeah, probably. It's still on the boat. Tomo, enjoy. Put that on, put a 115 Suzuki on it, and it treated us well for a couple of years till I got the next one.
And you used it heaps.
Yeah, we put a couple hundred hours on it every year pretty much.
Yeah, mainly out of like off Lucinda and stuff?
Yeah, mostly off Lucinda, a little bit off Townsville. That boat only had like a 90 litre fuel tank, so Townsville were pretty limited.
Yeah.
Could just get to the close reefs and back. But Lucinda, you had a lot more options, so we'd tow it up there most of the time. It's pretty light behind a car, so no dramas.
I remember towing it up that time.
You did.
And the car kept shitting itself. And you thought I was playing around.
Oh, that was an interesting trip.
That was a great trip.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd ever been in the water.
Yeah.
Like in the water.
Yeah. I wouldn't really define you being in the water though. You were
a floater.
struggling to get down. Most of the time your feet would be like flapping around on the surface.
It was mid though.
Bobbing around.
Yous were spearfishing and I was just like normal fishing, and every time I got snagged, you just swim down and get my snag.
Yeah, that's right. And you kept getting smacked by that trout.
Yeah, and then you just
I swam down and shot it.
It was a good fish too.
It was a good fish. It had a lure in its mouth.
And then I built up the courage to finally get into like a wetsuit 4 times smaller than what
I wish you could show pictures on podcasts.
Nah, I've deleted them all for that reason.
Oh, mate. It's a great picture.
And then I was like, okay, no worries. So how does this happen? And you just threw the spear gun in the water and you're like, we got to go down and get it. And it took me like 6 attempts.
In 4 meters of water.
And then, who was that guy that we were with? Something dog. Was it Brown Dog?
Brown Dog.
He went down and grabbed it and brought it to me. Yeah. That was a good day.
It was a good day. We got a few fish. You got a couple of tuna, didn't you? Put blood all over the boat.
Yeah, not with a gun though.
No, yeah.
Remember I saw the squid.
Oh my gosh. Just chase squid around.
They were amazing, mate. Oh. Under the water's completely different.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
That's why I get in.
That shark came.
Oh, it's probably the smallest shark in the world.
Yeah, when you're under the water though.
It's still small.
It's a big shark. I could hear that. Dun, 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 dun.
Skip forward 30 seconds.
And then I wrestled that shark and I saved your life.
Skip another 30. Oh dear.
Yeah, but knowing that you do spearfishing and stuff, what did you actually set that first Haines up the way you wanted it, or you just sort of settled with it and was like, oh yeah, this is pretty good?
Yeah, so I kind of got the hull that I wanted and then tried to modify it to spearfish, so as much deck as possible. And I ended up putting an esky in the back of the boat, but I did it with like plastic and it was pretty dodgy. Didn't really keep ice for very long, but it wasn't on the deck, which is what I wanted. And it had a pod so you could get in and out of the back. So that boat kind of set me up for exactly the boat that I wanted to go. So I went out in that boat a lot and a few other mates' boats a lot. And I worked at the uni at the time, and we had a pretty big fleet of boats at the uni, so I'd be going out in their boats a lot. So I spent time in boats and figured out exactly what I wanted, and then found one of them.
So we'll get onto that
The beast.
overpriced bloody.
Yeah.
So going on the Haynes bandwagon, right? Like, I just want to get on this so we can get off it.
You love it.
Oh, mate.
There's a 19C 2 metres from you.
Oh, yeah, I know. You just, the table keeps bumping every time you move, and I think it's something in your pants. God. So how much were you done the bulkheads, and you done a little bit of work on it?
Yeah.
So for all, for those guys that are out there looking for an old school Haynes, or if we focus on the Haynes because it's such a big sort of popular thing.
Yeah.
Did you I guess I want to say you went down and checked that boat, right? Mm-hmm. And you knew that it needed work. Mm-hmm. And you still, would you consider, say, paid good money for it?
I ended up getting it for a decent price, a price I was happy with.
Yeah.
I think I paid like $4,000 or something for it. So it was definitely worth more than an old shitty boat should be. Mm-hmm. But for the hull, I mean, you pay the Haynes tax, and that's all part of it. I had driven all the way to Brisbane and back in one go to look at another V17C that I liked and turned it down. So I was pretty keen on getting a boat,
So you paid the money, you knew it needed work. Once you set it up, worth it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Love that boat. My mate who owns it has towed it all the way to Tassie. And he's doing a bit of spearing off it down there and a bit of fishing off it down there. I was down there 2 weeks ago and it's still going strong. It's
Should
like
you
anything.
be here?
Pardon? What?
Should you be here if you were down there 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I'm all good. It was before they closed everything.
Why is your nose
3
running?
weeks maybe. What's that?
Why is your nose running? Stop it.
Yeah, I know, wild times.
So happy with the Haynes.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah.
Obviously lots I wanted to do. Few little dramas with it, but learned a lot. Got a lot of fish in that boat, and
and now someone else is enjoying it.
And now my mate uses it all the time.
Yeah, sweet. So all of a sudden, then I start getting all these messages about, do you know anyone with this boat? Do you know anyone with this boat? I'm looking at this boat. What do you reckon about this boat? Can you have a look at this boat? And then the next message is just a photo of you in rainforest.
Yeah.
With this tank of a Haynes.
Yeah.
And it's I just bought this. I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for it, but I'm bringing it home.
Yeah, pretty much. So the story goes is we were looking, I'd done a lot of research and been in a few different boats. I've spent a bit of time in a 243 Haynes, 233 Haynes and a 213. And I wanted a boat that was big enough to get right out to the shelf comfortably and small enough to tow to Lucinda. So that.
Have you been in a Scout?
I have been in a Scout, yeah. It was on flat water and it was quite bumpy. You think it was trim tabs, but it was just
That's sorted now, mate.
Different boat.
That's sorted.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. Why'd you go red?
We'll cut that out. That's fine.
Okay, continue. Right. Yeah, so I had the boat that I wanted, did my research, that Haynes Hunter Facebook page, which you hate.
I don't hate
you do
it.
Hate it.
I don't.
I did a lot of reading in that. There's a lot of garbage there, but there's a lot
That's what I hate.
There's a lot of good stuff too. A lot of guys that have that boat. So the boat I was looking for was a Haynes Hunter 600.
Yeah.
Same as a 203, same hull. It just had different stringers. You probably don't want to know. But
no, I'm interested.
Okay, so the 203 was made with fiberglass stringers, which don't rot, as you know. But the 600 is the exact same hull, but made with timber stringers. So the 203 is like a great hull.
Years difference?
Years difference.
Right.
Yep. Years difference, and they made the 600 in an R and a C, and the R's are
tapping on the table,
they're so inflated. They're so inflated in price. So I wanted a C, because then I could do all the work I wanted to do and have the hull for a decent price.
And how'd you find this one? Gumtree? Facebook.
I posted on a few different sites and said, has anyone got a 203 or a 600 that they'd want to sell? Everyone put the emoji of laughing. You're never going to find that, mate. Join the queue. The rest of us are all looking for the same boat. because they only made a few before the Haynes guys had a falling out. So it was like one of the last ones, as far as I'm aware, that they made. So anyway, and then this guy called Ben messages me. I still talk to him. I was talking to him the other day. Messages me and goes, hey man, I've got a cane farm, and out the back of the cane farm is an old 600C. I don't really know if I want to sell it, but I'm just touching base. And I was like, right, okay. Do you want to sell it? And he's like, I'll come and have a look, but, I want this much money for it. And I was like, whoa, okay. That's a little bit ridiculous, but,
Yeah.
It is what I think it's worth. So anyway.
And to this day, I still don't know this figure.
Yeah, no, you never will. It wasn't that bad. And me and a mate split it, so.
Oh, so it's only half the price, all right?
Half price.
Yeah.
The whole boat is half price. So anyway, we drove up. It was at a cane farm on the tablelands up behind Cairns there. We had a look at it. It was a disaster, man. Like the trailer had one wheel like snapped off pretty much. Someone before had tried to gut it, so cut half of it out, but half of it was still in. Like the stringers were like open, like splayed open with timber like popping out of them. Like the cab had been cut out, the deck is half cut out. It was like there was plants growing in the back of it.
And this Ben guy had bought it like that? Or?
Yeah, I think he bought it and was like, I'm going to get someone to redo this boat because I know it's a good hull.
Yeah.
And just never had the time.
Yeah.
And then was like, oh man, I'm moving overseas. I'm not going to have time to do this. Come up and have a look.
Please fund my overseas trip.
Pretty much. I paid for his trip to Canada for a year or whatever, for how long he went. So
yeah.
Anyway, we went up, had a look, saw how terrible it was, bought it, paid for a truck to drive it back to my place, put it in the garage and got to work.
And you still had the other Haynes at this time too, right?
Yeah. That was not an easy sell. Yeah, well, my pitch was that I needed a boat to go fishing while I did up the next boat, which didn't go down all that well.
Lucky you married this lady, mate.
She's a good girl. Yeah. No doubt. Anyway, so that was the setup, and I ended up, as I said, selling that other one to my mate, which funded the back half of the 600 that we redid.
How quickly did you post on Old School Haynes Hunters that you had this 600? Like, that's a genuine question, not a like
next.
Straight away, wasn't it?
Within the hour.
And then how many people wanted to buy it off you?
Mate, 2 days after I got it home, Ben called me and said, hey, can I buy it back for more? I wish I didn't sell it. And I had heaps of guys saying, oh, what, you found that? How much did you get it for? How much would you take for it? So yeah. People were keen.
Wow.
But no, I found the boat I wanted and it was all systems go. I was in here talking to you.
Yeah.
Give me a couple of drums of resin and some fiberglass and let's go.
So what was the plans with this boat? Like, did you sit down and work it out and this is what we want to do, this is where we want to do it?
Yeah, pretty much. So the guy I bought the boat with, he's a sniper in the army and he was there for about the first 3 weeks of the build and then he went away. So we sat down and had a bit of a plan, had a layout that we wanted to do. We knew we were gutting the whole thing. We knew it would change as we went, but we had a bit of a design based on our previous boats of what we thought would work well for spearfishing. And we kind of didn't really draw anything, but had a bit of a design together after a few beers and then he left and I got to work.
Before he left, though, I saw photos on your Instagram page of a lot of
spearfishing.
Yes, no, give it a shout out.
Yeah.
Of a lot of him grinding and cutting.
Yeah.
And you behind the camera.
Oh, someone has to take a picture.
And you were really looking after him. He was in bloody no shoes.
Yeah, well, it's in a shed, so it's all good to go. He ripped in before he left. He's a tough dude, so grinding and ripping out is his specialty.
Yeah. And you took it all the way back?
All the way back.
Just a
we
hull
had
left.
to build a frame around the hull so it didn't flex out. Mm-hmm. We took that much out of it. Mm-hmm. So transom, floor, stringers, front cabin, top deck, everything. It was just a hull.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, on a frame.
And you've gutted it all. You had a plan.
Yep.
How quickly did it all come together? Like, I'll talk you through the process, but like for anyone that's sitting here now going, I'm going to buy a boat. This
Do
is
it.
going to happen.
Call me. I had a guy call me today. He just got a 17C. He wants to put a new front cabin in. I don't know how he got my number, but anyway.
Yeah,
do
right.
it. Do it. It's fun.
How quick?
1 year.
You turned around
1 year
a year.
and a couple of days.
Yeah. With you and a mate, or you and a couple of mates every now and then.
Yeah. I had mates come over on the weekend and help me with stuff.
Yeah.
But every day after work, I'd probably do 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
A lot of hours.
So you had some fiberglassing experience, and you've come in, you've seen us, like, you went over it a million times with me, what you were going to build, how you're going to build it. Wade told me that I can't be too commercial, but so you obviously used Thermalite throughout the build.
I did.
Yes.
So
first of all, why? Other than the fact you bought an old school Haynes, so if you use old school Haynes and Thermalite, you get mad, like, Facebook points.
Absolutely. Everyone froths on it.
But talk me through that process, because you could have easily have put timber back in and glassed over it.
So the debate was timber, it's cheap, it weighs what it weighed when it came out of the factory, and it's easy to use. And then Thermalite, I had pretty much no idea what Thermalite was. But from what I did understand and what I'd seen in this shop here, and what I'd researched, is that you do it once and you do it right. So I knew it was going to be a lot of work based on other boats that I'd worked on, and I knew I only ever wanted to do it once and get it right the first time, spend the money. So I did a bit of research, and I didn't really cost it out, because in my head, even if it cost a fair bit more, which it ended up didn't costing all that much more, I wanted it to be done. I wanted to be 100 k's offshore, hitting swell, knowing, like, I trust what is underneath my feet, and it hasn't got a screw in it that I didn't realise and is rotting. So that was my thought process for Thermalite. But man, it was new. Like, I hadn't really been in any boats, and guys were like, nah, it's too light, you can't screw into it, glass doesn't hold, it absorbs water, all this stuff. And I was like, oh man, am I doing the right thing? But
my shiny gold tooth got you, didn't it?
Your shiny little gold tooth and your big old smile and your big hood got me across the line, and I'm glad it did.
How'd you find it? Like, because I'll go through the what you changed, and I'll go through the why you done it and stuff like that. So just to give you an idea where I'm heading with this, it's not just a plug. It's just, how did you find working with it?
Itchy.
100%.
Didn't realise. Cutting it in bare feet, not a good idea. But it's pretty much the same as timber to work with, really. Like, circ saw goes through it, jigsaw goes through it, grinder pushes it back, same kind of thing.
Did you find it easy enough that you could just grab a piece and use it anywhere in the boat?
Easy as. Really easy.
So did you change the design that much from what Haynes originally built?
So it originally had this massive cab at the front, and it was so high that to drive the boat, you stood on a box that was like 400 mil high off the deck to see through the front windscreen. So Google a picture of 600 Haynes Hunter 600C, and you'll see how high the front deck is.
It looks like that new Tesla truck.
Pretty much. So I kind of cut all that out, changed the layout completely, moved like the driving point forward a little bit, not too much. I didn't want it be too far to the front. I still wanted to be able to sleep in the cab. Changed the layout, took all the seat boxes out, the little pedestal thing you stood on to drive it out, ripped the transom out. It comes like with a moulded kind of seat section, all those Haynes do. Ripped that out and then made a pod.
Love your pod,
love my pod.
It's got to have a pod, mate.
Mate, love my pod. Gives you so much more deck space. You got to do it. Yeah. So, it was a process. A lot of learning, a lot of mistakes, but I'm really happy with how it turned out.
So you can check the photos out on your Instagram page, Swimming North Spearfishing.
Correct.
There's a bit there that your stories were more regular. Obviously, they had heaps more of what was going on at the time. But so you've ended up with massive deck space. You've ended up still with your cabin. A comfortable driving position. And a pod.
And a glassed-in esky on the transom.
Right.
Yeah, which is pretty big.
So other than all those transformations, other than the size of the boat difference, you're happy with the choice in the 600?
Absolutely. Very happy.
So other than the size, like talk me through if someone was going, I want to have a look at a 600 and I've got a V17, what's the differences? Like what?
So it probably doesn't ride as well at low speed as a 17. 17s are real skinny, which means they've got quite a steep dead rise, being a skinny boat, which means they're terrible at rest. This boat is a little bit wider, still got a pretty good depth to it, I guess. Doesn't ride as well at low speed, but at high speed, it's unbelievable, which is what they were built for. They were built for travelling quickly offshore. So, yeah, when you pin it, it's amazing. Other differences is it's way heavier.
Is it drier or wetter?
Way drier.
Yep.
Yeah. The 17, because we had a pod on, a little bit too much flotation on the back of that, it would push the nose down a bit, so it was a really wet boat. This one, probably a tiny bit too much weight at the back. So when we put all our gear in, it goes right up the front and it's perfect. But, yeah, really dry. Very, very rarely do you get any kind of spray over the bow. Yeah. Real big reverse chines on the front.
Yeah, right. So took a year, used pretty much all the good gear.
Yeah.
Changed the layout a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd do different now that you've had it for what? It'd be like 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
Anything I'd do different? I'd probably leave room for trim tabs. Didn't really leave room for them.
Yeah.
I'd do a couple of little things different. Like,
what do you got on the back of it?
I got 200 Yami. We bought that brand new.
Yeah. Happy with that?
Yeah, real happy. Yeah. Hasn't missed a beat. Pretty good on fuel. Really reliable. Until I would have put a trim limiter on it because my mate trimmed it all the way into the transom and cracked the cowling.
Nice.
Like proper destroyed the cowling. So
nice.
We
good guy.
Yeah. No, he was pretty sorry about it, but we got one of those lovely boat covers, all those outboard covers, and it looks brand new.
Yeah. And we'll never talk about that until the day we have to sell it and someone pulls it off and you're like, oh.
I'm never selling it.
I'm never selling it.
Nah, never.
Loves it.
Yeah. Not allowed.
So is it any easier like being you got a dive door on the side, right?
Yeah. Put a dive door in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talk me through that. It scare the shit out of you when you're doing it?
Nah, like anything, like I just researched it, did a lot of work on it, figured out where the waterline was. I had a marine surveyor come around a couple of times and kind of wanted to make sure that I was getting weight distribution right. He was really helpful. I had him go through the kind of plans when we were getting to a stage that he could see where it's going to go. And he kind of said, I'd cut it this deep, I'd make it this wide to keep the boat's structural integrity. But with the way we glassed up the stringers and the floor, the thing's a rock. So it didn't really matter too much. But yeah, we cut it in. We actually never even put the door in. We cut it from the gunner rubber up to the top of the boat, which is probably 350 mil. Pretty high gunnels on this boat. And water never comes in, so that I've never even put the door in. It's always open.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good.
But at a good height that you can get in and out of the boat?
Yeah, you can get in, out of the boat really easily. The pod is just above water level, so way back easier getting out of the water on the pod. But when we've got a few divers in the boat, it's a good place to sit. The other thing we did is we made those gunnels flat, so they're 150 mil flat all the way around, which is good for divers to get in and out on. But we love that door. We got a couple of big doggies a few weeks ago and they came in through the door. Yeah. It was really handy.
Yeah. Sweet. And still good enough that you can pack up and go island hopping or camping. That's still pretty versatile.
You can load the boat, unload the boat. When it's at home, it's real handy because you're not going up over the gunnel. We just go straight through the door. I put it on the driver's side. I was going to put it on the other side. Lots of people put it on the other side as the driver because then there's no wiring running under there. But I like to be able to see someone in the water, on the driver's side. You can see where they are and get to them real quick if you need to.
Didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I don't usually exit the boat.
No, not on purpose anyway.
Sweet. So you're still talking to your mate that you built the boat with, obviously?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. He's away again.
Yeah.
He does
That's a good deal, mate.
private security overseas. He's 2 months away, 1 month here. He doesn't even really live here when he's here. So, yeah, he's the best boat partner you could ever wish for. And he's a good spearo, so he's good value.
So you get many comments, like have you, you're super open about talking about the process and the build process. Do you get many comments? Do you get many, how did you find once you'd finished it and stood back and were pumped about it?
Yeah.
Did you get much backlash? Did you get many?
No, man, no backlash.
Yeah. Pretty good community?
Yeah. I didn't really post up heaps when I'd finished it. Mm-hmm. I planned to. I was going to do a full but there's so many weapons on there that they just want to say, oh my gosh, you didn't grind that enough before laying the next thing of glass. And you're like, man, how can you possibly tell that?
So how can you say this about that community, but you can just come straight out and say that I hate them?
I'm not saying I hate them. I'm saying there's a few weapons on there that I just don't want to deal with. So I put up a few finished photos, but not heaps about the build. There's more on the Instagram about the build. And pretty much I reckon every time I go to the boat ramp, if there's someone there that's over 50 years old, they love Haynes hunters and they'll make a beeline straight for the boat and talk about how they had the same boat and you know how it is. But no, lots of guys that have got fibreglass boats that are a similar kind of design will come up and have a chat. Yeah. And there's a fair few people rebuilding them now. So
100%.
It's a bit of a community. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You see one driving down the highway. I get on the Instagram pretty regularly if I'm going to Lucinda, 3 or 4 people taking pictures of my boat and sending them to me or posting them or whatever.
Saying you're driving like a dick?
Saying I'm driving like a really, really good driver. But
yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
It's got to make you feel good.
It's cool. Yeah. People are like,
and
this
you
boat
build
looks
that.
sick.
Yeah.
Very rewarding.
Yeah.
Very rewarding. Yeah.
So a few things that are the hot topics in the shop that we always sort of get. Do you do anything positive flotation?
No.
Oh,
yeah. Not positive in terms of foam, but positive in terms of the 2 sides next to the fuel tank, don't know what you call them. Those 2 underfloor sections are fully sealed and they got bungs in the back. Mm-hmm. So they're like air flotation pods, I'd guess you'd say. Mm-hmm. If you punctured the hull, that would do a whole lot of nothing for you.
Yeah.
But if you kind of punctured it along the keel, which I guess is where you're most likely to puncture it, we've got enough flotation. We actually filled it with water in the Ross before we put the outboard on, and it floated full of water. So
nice.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. 100%.
On the trailer.
Yeah. Sweet. So use polyester resin?
Polyester resin.
And vinyl ester?
And a little bit of vinyl ester.
Yeah. No epoxy?
Mostly poly. No epoxy at all.
Because there's no need to use epoxy?
I didn't see any need to use epoxy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, this podcast's going to air now. That's all I needed to hear.
Yeah, okay. Well, you should give me a list of notes of what you want me to say.
No, that's commercial and Wade doesn't like that.
Sorry, Wade. Yes, Roger.
So where to from now? Is this the boat? Obviously you got a kid on the way, so surely you can't.
Yeah, the budget's a bit tighter now. I'm not going to go rebuilding boats of my own.
But yeah, this is the boat that your child is going to grow up in?
I'll have this boat for a long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Where's the, say if we went with 5 key things, where's the furthest you've been in it?
We went out to Myrmidon off Townsville, which is best part of 120 k's offshore. That'll be the furthest in one trip. We've done a few day trips, island hopping, sleeping on the boat, where we've racked up more k's than that, but that's the furthest offshore. We go to Pith pretty regularly, which is pretty far out too. But
do you still like normal fish out of it? Or it's mainly just spearing? Yeah.
Not really, yeah.
Yeah.
I would. I just suck at fishing. And I don't have heaps of marks.
Yeah.
I have heaps of dive marks.
Yeah.
But they don't fish like they dive, so not heaps of... If I go line fishing, I'll go in someone else's boat.
Yeah.
We only have 1 rod holder, I think, in the whole thing.
And that's actually a cup holder.
Fits a bit. Yeah.
Nicest place you've ever been at?
Oh, good question. Hinchinbrook is pretty nice. I rate Hinchinbrook. We went to the Whitsundays. Beautiful through there. Actually, no. The best place is there's a little sand cay on Walker Reef that only comes out on low tide, and it's probably only 10 metres squared. and it's like blue as blue, crystal clear, awesome snorkeling. Yeah, that's the best spot I've taken it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Worst trip out?
There's no bad trips out. Not in this boat. We've had to turn around twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go and hide behind an island until the wind dies down and then punch it back out.
What's it like? You talked before about how good it was, like when you're actually up it.
Yeah.
If it gets messy, still a good boat?
Yeah, still a good boat, but you got to have people that are willing to get pumped.
Yeah.
So the times I've turned around is like taking like my sister and family and stuff out. One time we went out night fishing and it just blew up real bad. And at night you can't see it coming. Like you don't know what the swell is. So that was pretty brutal. That was probably the worst trip. My sister and her husband got pretty nailed.
Have they been out since?
Yeah, they might be a bit scarred. And actually, I went over to Maggie with my wife's family, and my wife's mum is not keen on boats. Never really been in boats. Never, it's not something they do in Sydney all that much. We went out to Maggie, and I kid you not, it was like 12 knots. It wasn't even bad, and she caught the ferry home because she wasn't safe in my boat. Yeah. So that was an experience.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man, she was not all that stoked.
Yeah, right.
She made me. We weren't allowed to get on the plane the whole way to Maggie. I was like, please, it will be better on the plane. She would just freak out.
Yeah, right.
Chris, I'm sorry, but it's true. Yeah.
Right. Question number 4.
Yeah.
And this is purely because we haven't talked about it, and I would really like it to come from someone that has it. What's the Evertread like to clean?
To clean. If you do it quick, it's sweet.
Yeah.
If you let it dry, it takes work.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're putting on is a deck wash.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we've got a little bucket and a sponge that if you get a big fish and there's blood everywhere, whoever got the blood everywhere
has to clean
hooks
it
into the sponge. That's the rule. But mate, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 99% of it you can clean when you get home.
Yeah.
It's just pretty much for me blood. And the other thing to watch, if you've got like old screws in the boat rolling around or something, rust is real hard to get out. But apart from that, the boat gets wet all the time because we're getting in and out of the water. So it kind of just cleans itself.
Yeah. And the last question that I'll ask you is if you have any advice for some, I was going to say person that's about to do their boat, but there's a lot of people out there that have pulled up stumps either halfway through or quarter way through. Like, what would be your one piece of advice that you'd give someone that is thinking of rebuilding any boat?
Yeah.
Or has started and has put their hands up and gone, this is too hard, or I hate this, or...
Yeah, man, it's tough work. It's not glamorous. Like, you are itchy and sweating, especially in North Queensland. First piece of advice is do it in winter. Second piece of advice is just bite off small chunks. Like, fiberglassing takes way longer than you think it will. Like, you can look at it and go, yeah, sweet. Once I've cut the stringers, I just tack them in and then glass them and we're done. But it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So I would say just have real small targets and take the time frame that you put on at the start, which is ridiculous, off it, and like try and enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 6th question. There wasn't going to be 5.
Yeah, mate.
But
I've got all night.
Yeah. Do you want another beer?
Sure.
Really? They're Wade's. Do you want 2? You can take a roadie if you want.
Go.
So
6
I'll ask this question and I'll go grab a beer.
Yeah.
And then I'll bring it back.
Perfect.
And I will hopefully hear what you said.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'll just be like,
Jeez, long, open-ended question.
So you've built the boat, regardless of the cost, as in like I don't need a figure, but you bought the boat of your dreams, you invested, mate, with the donk and everything, like honestly, you would have had to throw 50?
Nah, less than that.
Okay.
Like 30.
Okay. So say
actually, yeah. Depends who's listening.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you throw in like 15 grand in.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you. No worries. 50 was like, I was talking yen.
Yeah. 50, 150 yen.
Yeah. So you've spent the money, you got the boat of your dreams. you've rebuilt it, you've got itchy, everything sucked, it finished.
Yeah.
Knowing what you invested into that boat.
Yeah.
Would you tell someone, if that's the boat, go for it? Or would you say, if I was going to spend that much money, I could go buy a new boat?
Okay.
Does that make
question.
sense?
Yeah. Because halfway through the build, the answer is go buy a new one. But now at the end, like having it exactly the way that I want it, and just having the trust in it, like knowing, I used a lot of glass on those stringers and I put a lot of glass into that floor and I, keyed everything up right and I grinded it down well and did all the work right. Having that kind of trust in the boat, I'd do it again. I wouldn't buy a new one because I wouldn't be able to get exactly what I want out of a new boat. If I bought a new boat, I'd still have to modify it and I'd pay a lot more, I reckon, for a new boat.
I heard it all.
Like interlude music in this.
Yeah.
Let people just relax for a minute.
Look, that's pretty much like everything that has been awesome. You just answered all the questions. This is easy.
Good.
I mean, it's not easy. People shouldn't start a podcast. It's hard.
Yeah, no, don't do this.
Definitely, especially when you got someone that just keeps talking and talking and talking and talking.
Yeah, don't do this. It's very relaxed.
I genuinely appreciate it. Like, you've stepped up. As I said, if this is the first one that gets edited, you will be number one on the Composite Community podcast. Is there any feedback that you've got for what you'd like to see out of the podcast going forward?
I reckon stories of guys doing their boats up is really interesting. You see pictures of guys doing their boats up, but you don't really hear people talk about it. I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time. So, stories of what they've done, what they've learnt during the process, I think would help a lot of people. And just like a bit of information that you can trust is hard to find. It's often that information has some kind of bias behind it in terms of this is the only way to do it because it's the way I do it, or I'm going to make money off the guy if they do it this way, so you have to do it this way. But, someone saying this is why I did it, this is what my result is.
It's worth heaps, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's just some information that, isn't pushed one way or the other. Like, it's what I did. It worked for me. I'd do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just as a disclaimer, because I feel like you've thrown me under the bus, I'm just dwelling on this. Old School Haynes Hunters does have some quality people.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they do. There's a lot of people on there that know what they're talking about.
Yes.
But there's like 40,000 people on there now. And
which has, don't get me wrong, but that is, if you look at a group, shows how like many people are in exactly the same position as you're in or were in.
Yeah.
You don't join that page to like look at pretty boats.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it was awesome for my rebuild. I learned heaps and heaps off that page. And I'm still on it and I still follow what's going on. And when there's guys in Townsville that are like, oh, I need a hand, like I'll often message them from that and be like, hey man, if you want me to drop around, let me know.
Do you have a top fan badge?
No. As soon as I get one of them, I'm off it. But no, it is a great page. But like any page, man, like anything online, there's just the minority that are really loud and that I'm not great at dealing with. So I just, leave them alone.
So is there anyone you want to give a thank you or a shout out to in regards to the build? Don't smile at me like I'm setting like...
Chris changed my life.
No, genuinely, because...
like all my friends that came and helped out, they know who they are. They would come on Saturday morning and leave Saturday night and spend most of the day grinding. Wet sanding, man. Wet sanding is my worst enemy.
Yeah, well, let's touch on that. You re-gel coated that boat, right?
The whole thing. We got a crane in. We flipped it upside down. We pushed it back in on skateboards into the garage. It had anti-foul on it. Side note, don't wear no mask and grind anti-foul. It's gnarly. We re-gel coated the whole thing. was a lot of work, a lot of wet sanding.
Why'd you re-gel coat it, not 2-pack it?
I wanted to be able to fix it easy. I had 2-packed a boat before and then scratched it up a bit, and it was a nightmare to fix. I found gel coat was a bit tougher, and that's how they came out of the factory. So I wanted to kind of keep it like that. And it's easier to... It's not easier to do, but you can manipulate the finished product a little bit more.
You have to be a professional spray painter.
2-pack, you spray it wrong. Gel coat, you spray it wrong, you just spend more hours on the sander.
Yeah, sweet. And you didn't just do it white?
Nah, we did the bottom white.
Maniac.
Sides blue. Lucky I didn't go darker, because the darker you go, the harder it is.
To buff and sand.
Yeah. And then white top deck, so... Mostly light colours.
Yep.
I would suggest light colours if you can.
And it's all holding up?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. It's a good product, eh?
Yeah.
Gel coat?
Yeah. It's solid as. The whole boat doesn't have one little stress crack, one hairline, anything.
Stop it. Listen to it.
It's true. Come and have a look. There's so much glass in there it couldn't. Which was on a side note, part of the reason we put so much glass in is we figured out the dry weight of the hull coming out of the factory. We figured out the weight of the thermalite that was going in, and then the extra weight of the glass that we'd need to put in to get back to that same weight. I was pretty conscious of weight. I wanted it to be exactly what it should be. So thermalite being a little bit lighter means we could lay up glass a little bit heavier. Means we could do another layer or two on the stringers, a couple on the floor, couple on like the hull as soon as we grounded it back. So we actually got the weight like 50 kilos under at the end, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which then when you put fuel in it, it all balances
then it's
out.
all, But the dry weight of the hull was real similar. So that was cool.
Yeah, sweet. So back to the thank yous, you get your mates. Craig was really helpful. Over at North Coast. Yourself and the team here, really, really helpful. I would spend a lot of time in here asking a lot of annoying questions. No, we valued you coming in. Every time you pulled up, it was a grin.
Who's this guy
from
again?
ear to ear.
Right. Honestly, it was, unlike a lot of other people, like a little bit experienced with fiberglass, but by no means do I have a trade in fiberglass or 10 years experience. So there's lots of questions during, and I would message you or Craig or a few other guys and be like, how do I attach stringers to the hull? What do I use? What product do how do I hold a stringer there while I'm glassing it? Like just these little kind of techniques. What's that Pommy guy's name? He gave me a hand too. Pete. Yeah.
I'm going to podcast him.
Pardon?
I'm going to get him full of whiskey and podcast him.
That guy can talk.
Oh, mate.
Pete was helpful. And mostly my mates though, they did the hours.
Yeah.
On the wet sanders and rolling glass out.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
And you ended up with a smick rig.
Yeah, ended up with a boat I'm really happy with.
Missus go out in it much?
Yeah, if the weather's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll do like a trip with,
Does she get
some
water?
Friends. Yeah, she'll snorkel. Yep. So we'll do like a trip with friends and go to that Walker Reef Cay and Britomart and go. I've got a few spots. I'm a marine biologist, so like I know coral and I know good spots and I know dodgy spots. So we've got like a trip for tourists pretty much. Like when parents-in-law come up, friends come up, you can go and hit these few spots, go for a real nice snorkel.
Yeah.
Boat's big enough, it's nice and comfy.
How's the reef going, mate?
Loaded question. Next. Aquaculture is the solution.
Thanks heaps for coming in and taking the time to sit down and have a chat with me. I genuinely appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I'm pretty keen to get on board with these more. You sort of got the monkey off my back.
Yeah.
And where can people check you out? Like check the build. You got Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram. So Swimming North Spearfishing. Just send me a message on there if you want any more pictures. There's a couple of dodgy little stories on there that I've saved, but I've got lots of pictures of doing the stringers, making a pod, like moulding the pod off the back of the boat, all that kind of stuff. There's plenty of information. I'll talk to Chris. He knows more about it than me. It's true. It's your work.
And they can give you the old toot as you're on the way to Lucinda.
Yeah, send a picture.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Nah, look, mate, genuinely appreciate your time.
Cool.
Super keen to see what happens next with this boat. See a little rugrat run around on it.
Yeah. Watch out. Put a jolly jumper up the front. I've seen a picture of that. Apparently that's the go. Yeah.
And thanks for your support through the build. Like, as I don't care how commercial that sounds like, mate.
No,
really appreciate it. And one more question before you go, Nathan.
Yep.
Chicken crimpies or pizza shapes?
Pizza shapes.
Chicken crimpies or pizza shapes?
Barbecue.
Really?
Yeah.
You're just going to keep changing them, or is it?
Barbecue's my favourite.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it tastes the best.
You always need a drink after them.
Chicken crimpies, man, they're the world's saltiest thing. They're saltier than you.
Oh, stop it.